What's up, everybody? It's your boy Nate. Today we are diving into Hailuo 2, which is a brand new AI video generation model that is completely crushing the competition. I mean, just take a look at these results. It is freaking mind-blowing because VO3 completely broke the internet like 2 weeks ago, and now we're already onto a better model that you can use today. And to really showcase that you can use this today, I made a brand new account where you can see that you're given 500 free credits to start generating. And if you're curious how many video generations you can get out of this, well, it only takes about 25 credits to generate on their 768p model for Hailuo 2. So that sounds like you're going to be able to get more than enough to get to testing and making something pretty dope with this brand new state-of-the-art model. So let's go ahead and dive right in. I'm super excited. I know you are too. All right, let's go. So we're not just going to be trusting their cherry-picked results, which, by the way, look amazing. And instead, we're going to be putting this head-to-head against some of the top video competitors like VO3 and Kling 2.1. Now, for a quick look at the leaderboard for AI video generation models, ByteDance's CDance is still #1, but it's not a model that you can actually use today. So we're going to be disregarding this. And instead, if you take a look down at only 20 points or so below, we have Hailuo 2, which offers image to video and text to video. Now, it does not generate audio, so we're just going to be comparing these in terms of its video quality. But you can see that it almost outranks by a full 100 ELO points over VO3. And since these leaderboards are still getting updated, I mean, this is a freaking brand new model. You can actually see for text to video, they don't even have it here ranking because, yeah, it's just that brand new. So this is what it looks like when you first get into Hailuo. You have your 500 free credits. If you wanted to get inspired by the community first, you can actually check out some really awesome examples from the community, which is just here on their explore page. You can see already people are making some pretty cool stuff. Let's go ahead and start doing some generations of our own. So I'm going to go ahead and click into the video section. And here you see that we have image to video, text to video, and subject reference. But a fair warning, the subject reference does not use Hailuo 2. So we're not even going to be covering that one in this video. If you guys did want to see some examples of subject reference, we made our Project Odyssey winning video using a lot of subject reference about 3 months ago. And honestly, the graphics on that compared to what video models are out now feels like looking at a PS1 or a GameCube game compared to PS5 graphics. So things have come a long way just in the past few months. Let's go ahead and first take a look at the text to video. So here I'm going to type in a prompt. A woman surfs on a surfboard in the ocean while wearing a sparkly dress and heels. The wave is huge and she narrowly escapes a large sea monster. So let's see how this came out. Here is the result from Hailuo 2. This is looking pretty impressive. A little quirks about it is that some of the face details are a little bit warped. Overall, I think this looks impressive. We have VO3. VO3 does a bit better than VO2 because we have the woman wearing the sparkly dress, she's wearing the heels, and then we also have the sea monster and a pretty big wave, and she actually does narrowly escape. It tries to hold its own against Hailuo, but the details are a little bit lacking. We also just have a little bit of strange warping when it comes to the physics of her dress. I mean, I don't know why there's this random leg cut out on the dress. It just looks a little bit strange there. So here we have Kling 2.0, and it looks pretty good at first glance. She is surfing, she's wearing a sparkling dress, but you're gonna notice that she's actually not wearing the heels that was described in the prompt. And we do have a sea monster that looks like it's about to get her, but there's not really a full view of a wave, kind of implied maybe if you were to like pull out the camera a little bit. But yeah, it's not the most perfect when it comes to adhering to that prompt. So for this case, Hailuo 2 is definitely going to be getting the point for this round. I don't want to go too hard on text to video just because really most people are going to be using these video models with image to video. And I also want to bring Midjourney into the mix to see how well it does. Now, the cool thing about Midjourney is that it allows you to generate your images beforehand and then just simply click a button for either high motion or low motion. It's going to animate that image. So I thought this one looked pretty well. It has the sea monster, it has a wave, and it has the woman wearing a sparkly dress and heels. And another cool thing about this is that not only does it generate incredibly fast, but it also gives us 4 different variations to look at. This one looks freaking amazing to her. I'd even give the point higher to Midjourney's video generation compared to VO3. And then even for the second generation, this one also looks good. I mean, it's a whole lot of motion. It's a little bit in slow motion, Some of it's a little bit weird, but wow, this is such an impressive result. So if I was really to go head to head, the winners for this round are easily Hailuo and Midjourney. We are cheating a little bit because in this case, we are using image to video, but let's go ahead and do one more text to video generation just to show you how well it can handle prompts. So this is a monstrous prompt. It is not a short prompt at all. Has a lot of details, making this cinematic sci-fi close-up of a powerful female protagonist standing alone in a neon-lit cyberpunk alley. She wears a sleek, form-fitting armored exosuit with glowing violet energy lines tracing her silhouette. Her helmet is off, revealing a sharp, focused gaze and short, wind-blown hair. Rain trickles down her face, mixing with the soft glow of holographic lights reflecting off the wet pavement. The camera moves slowly around her, capturing every detail from her battle-worn armor to the flickering digital ads behind her. Steam rises from the ground as distant hover cars fly past. Moody lighting, shallow depth of field, cinematic color grading, 35mm film look. And prompt adherence, Hailuo just freaking crushes it. The cars in the background do not appear to be hover cars. They actually have wheels if you take a look at it. So when it comes to a huge chunk of text, it got about 90% of the way there, and we're just missing that tiny little 10% to really make it all come home. But let's go ahead and see how well some of the other models do when it comes to a lengthy prompt as well. Here we have VO3, which shows the woman wearing the armored suit, and I think it does a really awesome job. This is such a solid generation, though there are just a few elements that are missing from this. I do think it went a little bit better than Hailuo when it comes to actually having that rainwater streaking down her face. And I think it did focus a little bit heavy on the fact that we said showing her gaze. Similar to the other generation, it does not have any sort of hover cars flying around, but at least in the background, we don't have these 2000s era cars. We have at least some sort of kind of strange spaceship in the background. And moving on to Midjourney. So here we have an example in which it first, of course, generates 4 different images, and then from those 4 different ones, I selected this one for it to go ahead and try to animate. I think it also did an amazing job at animating the scene. I really love that it has the armored helmet and it's kind of like open and revealing her face, which is something that is kind of described in the prompt. It says that her helmet is off. It tried to force fit the helmet while still showing her face inside of this. Another thing, if I was to nitpick, is that when it comes to a 35mm film look, we're not all the way there. This still looks a little bit like a CGI scene, which is kind of similar to what we saw in VO3, where it really makes it a CGI looking scene instead of something that looks like it was shot on a camera. And then finally, here we have Kling 2.0, which has a hover car, though it does have a regular car right below it, which is a little bit strange. And then when it comes to some of the stylings of it, it just doesn't really look that nice. Just overall stylistically, I'm not a fan of how this looks, and it definitely looks a lot cheesier, but maybe that's just because of its cinematic color grading aspect and how it chooses to do this. None of these really blew me away, but if I had to pick a winner for this round when it comes to a complex prompt for text to video generation, I gotta give the point at least to Hailuo, Midjourney, and also VO3. I think VO3 might be my favorite out of this. So let's get on to image to video generations. So for this next example, we're gonna be using this image of Aladdin and Jasmine in a realistic scene where they're on a magic carpet ride. And for this, I'm gonna be using the prompt, a man and a woman fly through the sky on a magic carpet. The wind blows their clothes and hair. The woman looks at the camera, then looks down at the ground far below them. This camera is shaky and follows the action, capturing the couple flying through the night sky. So here I'm inputting in the image. I don't have to crop it at all, and I can just put in the prompt. One other really cool thing about using Hailuo 2 is that they have built-in video director mode, which allows you to control the camera movements better than the other video generation models where all you have is prompting. So I'm gonna also take advantage of these additional features. So I'm gonna click on shake and I'm gonna add in tracking. I think I'm just gonna leave it at this for now, but you can actually select up to 3 different movements or use one of their presets here, which are pretty awesome. And we've done a whole video deep diving into the director mode because I think it is a game changer when it comes to video generation. So let's generate this one and see how well it does. This looks pretty awesome at first glance until we get about 1 or 2 seconds in, and all of a sudden we have the magic carpet rotating and it looks like they're more falling towards the ground than flying through the night sky. So a little bit strange for a Hailuo, and this did not live up to my standards when it comes to following that prompt. But other than that, it looks pretty decent in terms of having physics on the cloth and on the magic carpet and on the feathery hat. But yeah, not my favorite generation so far. So let's see how VO3 performs. And this is the generation that we get. A little funny side note, even though I'm not including the music here, it did put some extra Indian music in the background. Wow, this looks really impressive. I think this one actually looks like they're flying through the night sky. It does have Jasmine staring at the camera, and then she looks down for a brief moment, and we have a lot of wind blowing on their clothes and on their hair. So I gotta give this one a slight leg up compared to Hailuo's one, which I don't even think is gonna be usable. Now let's take a look at Kling. Wow, this is an impressive video generation. I think this one so far is the best out of the bunch. It has them flying through the night sky. It has the hair and the clothing blowing very strong. I do wish that there was a little bit more blowing on the actual magic carpet itself, but it's really nice that we have this movement and even the way that the light shifts across them to where it really glows a bit as if they're flying right underneath a direct spot for the moonlight. So this is a really awesome looking generation, and I think it did extremely well when it comes to the prompt adherence to show Jasmine looking at the camera and then looking down at the ground below them. Next up, we have Midjourney. Most people would agree that Midjourney is not the leaders when it comes to video generation, but I'm really surprised they did not do super terrible. I do wish that the prompt adherence was much better because it looks like the two characters themselves actually start to fly into the air instead of riding on this magic carpet. So it didn't really understand what I was asking from it. And then in another scenario, it looks like they're kind of still for a few seconds and then they start moving. So really, really wonky generations in that regards, but again, much better than anything I would have thought before. It actually looks like one of the 4 generations came out sort of decent. Now, another caveat about using Midjourney is that these generations are at 480p, so they're not anywhere near the size dimensions of the other models. And then just because we can, I already know that Sora has been losing tremendously hard when it comes to any other video generation tools. I mean, they're not really even ranking on the leaderboards nowadays, but I figured, hey, why not go ahead and give it a shot and see what they come up with. Already, it just completely warps the scene and makes something that is completely unusable. So yeah, Sora, negative points. I really do not recommend it at all. And yeah, you end up with a lot of really strange, messed up results. So not anything that I would use. In this case, I would give the point to Kling, which I think it really came out with an awesome looking generation. So good job, Kling, for scoring that point. One thing to note about using VO3 is that it does not actually let you use any aspect ratio. So when having to do this prompt, I'm actually required to crop into the video, unlike the other tools like Hailuo 2 and Kling, and even Midjourney, which lets you generate videos in any aspect ratio. So it's already going to get a penalty for not having that feature. Here we are using this input image, and we're going to be having the character walks down the road and there's a large explosion behind him. And let's see. Wow, this is such an impressive result. This is pretty awesome. Now, I will say it doesn't look like the explosion is behind him, but I really love that the explosion happens and it completely engulfs the entire scene. We have some really great physics happening with this debris and the smoke flying, and then the character actually reacts to the fire, but because he's wearing this big mech suit, he just charges right ahead. Now let's go ahead and look over at Kling, which also got the same exact prompt, except we now put tracking shot and shaky camera at the end. Wow, this is an amazing shot. Now, I will say the explosion looks a little bit more CGI than the explosion from Hailuo, and we don't really have the character reacting to this, but maybe it's just because he's wearing this armored mech suit. And I really do love the camera movement. I love the way that the fire really just explodes through the scene. Overall, it's a really awesome looking generation. All right, now taking a look at Midjourney, this is what it creates, and I think it did an awesome job at making the tracking camera with also a shaky cam. It does have the explosion. It does not look that impressive or like a big explosion, more like a little spark. And we also don't have the character really reacting to anything that's happening in the scene. So it's not the best generation from Midjourney. I do like that it gives us 4 different options. Here is what we get from using Sora, which it does have the explosion. it doesn't have the shaky camera, and it almost looks a little bit like a video game. So it's a very strange generation, but maybe that's its own way of having the explosion in the background. So I will give it credit for actually making that explosion behind the character instead of just in front. But we also don't have the character interacting with the scene, and it's a little bit disappointing, again, because Sora, so much high hopes, but quickly, once people started using it, realized it is not really comparable to any of the other tools like Kling and Hailuo when it comes to video generation. And last up, we have a generation from VO3. This one looks pretty impressive. It starts off really great with this explosion. It's not behind the character again, but then we have this character running through the scene. And I really do love that it seems like things are physically changing in the scene. So we have all this debris really reacting. We have this smoke that's just filling up that space where that explosion happened. So really awesome physics. But then once the character starts running, that's the part that really gives me a gripe, because it looks really, really strange. A little bit disappointing in that front. So when looking at all the generations back to back, my favorites out of the bunch are the ones from Kling 2.1 and from Hailuo. So in this case, from image to video, definitely earns itself the point. Last but not least, let's go ahead and test this out using this image generated with Sora. And we're going to be using the prompt, a woman Misty rides through a pool at high speed by grabbing onto a Starmie Pokemon. The woman is crouched forward with a focused expression. Water splashes dramatically behind her as Starmie jets forward, its glowing core lit. In the background, female gym trainers lounge near the pool's edge. A massive Gyarados roars from a central waterfall. Nearby are other Pokemon playing in the water, the camera tracking the woman Misty as she speeds forward, riding on the Starmie. So this is a jam-packed prompt mixed with a pretty complicated image. Here is the result from Hailuo 2. Pretty impressive. It has a lot of elements from the prompt in there, but one thing that I'm really seeing stand out is the fact that we have additional characters getting added in the same style as that initial frame. So in the background, there were all these extra gym leaders, or in this case, we actually have a few more people standing in the pool, by the pool, and other Pokemon-esque characters. Really interesting, and I think it's an awesome example of using something that looks like it was live action mixed with CGI. Now moving on to Kling, and wow, this one completely blows me away. It's really impressive because it's not in slow motion. We have what looks like Misty really grabbing on for dear life onto the Starmie as it's just jetting through. Once she starts moving through the pool and through the rest of the scene, we get these other characters that are introduced, but they look extremely warped. I think most people watching this, if it was a quick scene, they wouldn't really notice it, compared to Hailuo, which actually had people and other Pokemon characters that looked more believable, more coherent. It is definitely better. And then same with the Gyarados in the background. It also looked better in the Hailuo example. Next up here, we have VO3 on its quality mode. So again, this is the most expensive generation. I really do love that it has the different Pokemon in the background that look like they're actually interacting, and it looks like for the most part things are moving at a pretty reasonable frame rate, but we do have just such a weird motion when it comes to Misty riding on this Starmie. So it looks like she's grabbing onto it, but it loses its coherence, then she has to grab onto a different portion, and it just keeps warping this whole time through, making such an awkward video. A whole lot of AI slop going on here. All right, now moving on to Sora, which is actually what I used to generate the image in the first place. This is not at all what I was hoping for. It does not adhere to the prompt, and you even get some really, really strange motions happening, like her hand just completely dislocates and morphs into two hands, and then her pants randomly, it just changes red for no reason whatsoever. And it looks like the Starmie is just like a huge inflatable just pushing her up out of the water. Now moving on to Midjourney. So actually they were not able to make this video with the prompt. So it actually gave a warning essentially saying, sorry, the AI moderator is unsure about this prompt. So we're gonna have to dock a point for Midjourney because of the censorship and not really being able to handle this. However, I did go ahead and just feed it the image. I think when it comes to adding motion to the scene, This is really, really good. It's a really awesome looking scene, even though it looks like the Starmie is fainted and it's no longer really like something that she's riding on and more like she's dunking it underwater or it's lost all of its power. But other than that, when it comes to the water physics and the rest of the motion, these are some really solid generations, and I just love how coherent the character stays all throughout. So you can see there's no weird warping for her clothing and for her hair and for her face. So after looking at all of these different ones for this round, I got to give both Hailuo and Kling the point because both of them generated an awesome, pretty much usable video in regards to making this scene. So really awesome, and a great job to both of these models, Kling and Hailuo too. Now, as a bonus comparison, because again, these models are not exactly the same, so it's almost sometimes like comparing apples to oranges. It really does come down to the taste of the models and what they can do. I have seen that Hailuo is able to do some things that all the other models are not able to do. For example, when it comes to making a video of teenage Will Smith happy eating spaghetti, Hailuo is the only model. Other models will not allow you to generate this scene. They do not let you do character likeness, and even Kling for that matter, they won't allow you to do celebrity scenes without having an input image. So for text to video and having the least amount of restrictions, I will give it to Hailuo at the moment. So it earns an extra point. Another really cool thing though about these models is that I will give a point to Midjourney for just being so fast. When it comes to speed, all of the different video generation models will take you a different amount of time to generate your final video. And I have seen across the board, Midjourney is the first one to come up with a video, albeit it is a much lower resolution video than all the others. But pretty much only a couple weeks have passed since VO3 and we're already seeing the competition heat up, and it's getting extremely exciting. If you guys are curious to get a little bit more from the experimental side to actually using these for professional work, making actual commercials, short films, and all sorts of amazing use cases of AI, whether that's making images, making videos, or even doing things like 3D modeling and audio and voice cloning and lip syncing, yeah, we got you covered because we're coming out with a brand new generative AI course that we're super excited about. It's made to really put the power back into the hands of creatives, those of you who have spent hours, years really perfecting your craft. And if you do feel a little bit afraid about AI, I would highly recommend this course for you, because I think most of the fear with AI comes when people don't understand just how powerful these tools are and just how they're another tool in the creative's arsenal. So as someone who has spent years learning After Effects, Blender, Cinema 4D, Photoshop, Illustrator, and pretty much every sort of media arts underneath the sun, nothing is nearly as fun as getting to mess around with these new tools, because it really does feel like a whole new way of creating and really getting to have your ideas come to life. And I also think that creatives are definitely poised to really benefit from these tools, as they do have that artistic vision and are looking for a way to really just express it. So make sure you guys go ahead, sign up for our waitlist. And as a huge bonus, we're partnered up with NVIDIA, RunPod, and RunComfy to give you guys a whole lot of benefits. It's gonna be a super awesome course. The first 200 people that sign up are gonna get an extra credit bonus pack from our partners and some awesome perks. So make sure you guys go ahead and don't miss out on that. So anyways, I'm super excited for it. Thanks for watching. I hope to catch you in the next one. Until next time, all right, peace. Whoosh.
So, Black Mixture's AI course is dropping in July. Get ready, because it's gonna be bananas.